Right, what I'm going to show you is how to move a Visual Studio project or a VB project that uses a database. Now this is like where you would take a project that you created at college, taking it home to do some work, and to get it to work at home you have to change a few things. Okay, so it's not that bad, but it's a bit of a pain. You'd also have to do the same process after you've worked on it at home and then brought it back to college. So I've got a project here. Here, this one here. Now this one works, it's fine. If I just quickly show you, so if I run that, and eventually it will work. Right, okay, so if I just run that, it's connecting to the database in that folder that I just ran it on. Now there's two main things you've got to change. One is your data connections in Server Explorer. Okay, though that's just looking at the database. Okay, nothing more than that. And that will need to be pointing at the correct database. The other bit is in Solution Explorer, you've got the app.config file that needs to be changed. You basically change those two things and you're fine. So let's just pretend I'm moving that then. So I'm just going to move it or copy it from this folder into the sandbox. So it's sort of coming from home to work, if you like, or to college. So find the sandbox, Visual Studio 2012. And I'm just going to copy that into there. Okay, so everything's moved, that's fine, that's great, but when I open this, everything will be, in terms of the database, it's going to be looking at the database back in this in the SkyDrive folder, which is the wrong one. So we basically have to tell it not to do that, look at this one. So what I'll do is I'll just go into here quickly and just mess about with some of the students' names. So it's obviously, we know we're on the right one, so change his date name to none. Okay, right, let's do that. Right, so I know that the databases are different now. Okay, so if I just load up that project by clicking on there, now you would probably just get an error if you tried to run that. It's asking me if I trust it. I suppose I do. Right, okay. So if I just run that now, notice it's picking up the wrong. We should have a student called none, but we haven't. Right, okay. So the first thing to do is in here. If I just expand that, because this is the last one I was looking at. If I go to tables, there's student. If I do right click retrieve data, again it should be looking at the wrong one. Yep. So first thing to do is mess around with this. Now if you've not actually used this at home before, when you look at Server Explorer there'll be nothing in there, so just click right click add connection and it will create a connection to it, but we just need to modify this one. Okay, so we're just going to modify this one, so click modify. That's looking on my SkyDrive, which is the wrong place. So what I have to tell it to do now is to go to my sandbox, which is on here. Right, so I'm going to eventually get there, and there it is there. Now it's a good time now actually to copy that path. You can get it from Windows Explorer, but I'm just going to copy it now because I'm going to use that in a minute. So click OK. Right, even though nothing looks like it's changed, it's now looking at a completely different database. So just quickly test that by looking at student, retrieve. Yeah, that's got the right one. Now if I run it, it still will be looking at the wrong database. Okay, it's still the wrong one there. Now the reason for that is the connection string. Now the connection string is specified in app.config, and this class DB connector uses that. So this connection string here is actually specified in app.config. So we go into app.config now and we look at the connection string. Now hopefully you only got one of these. If you've got two in there, that's probably a bad thing. You notice here it says C uses CBRAN SkyDrive, which is the wrong one. So I know the database hasn't changed in terms of its name, and I just didn't copy anything after that, so just paste over the top of that. Now be careful there, I've got 2 backslashes there, I only want 1. Okay, so now I'll just close that. That will force me to save it. Right, and let's try and run it again. Now that is not unusual, that error. Often you just need to just restart Visual Studio. So it's not to be worried about. If I run it again now, hopefully it should work. Let's try that now. And it displays none. So we're now looking at the correct database in terms of running the program, and also Server Explorer is looking at the correct one as well. Just double check on that. Retrieve data, and it's there. So that's it. That's basically how you do it, and you have to do the same process again when you take it from home back to college again. And that is it.